Welcome back, guys, to another live stream. Um, you know, in this one, we had the Lakers lose to the Chicago Bulls, and there's not much, given how the Lakers competed in this game, it there wasn't much that they could do. Obviously, I think the reason why we lost this specific game was because we missed our free throws. That's what I ultimately believe lost us this game. But when you think about all the players that we were missing, I think it just makes sense that we should we have to suspend the season. I think that's what's got to happen. But I'm gonna get into that a little bit. But what I'm gonna do right now is just wait for a couple more people to join. Really go from there, and we'll just take it from there, okay? Because right now, um, there isn't much to make of the game. But let's go ahead. I mean, I could talk about what LeBron did, right? LeBron LeBron played just fine. I mean, just looking at the stats, right? He played amazing. And he wasn't the reason why we lost this game. I want to usually, if LeBron plays like trash, I am the one to hold him accountable, right? But this time around, I don't think so. But seriously, there's nothing to talk about. Like, yes, I understand that the Lakers lost, but there isn't much to do. We were shorthanded, right? Given how we competed against Minnesota, I honestly didn't believe that we were going to compete that well against Chicago. And I don't mind the Lakers losing. If the Lakers lose, I understand it, right? Given all this COVID protocol stuff, given how they're shorthanded, given how this is a new team, I get that. All I ask is for effort. And the Lakers gave us effort. They just didn't win. And what I'm saying is the NBA needs to suspend their season. That's what needs to happen. Because you look at all these teams, right? It's not even just the Lakers, but I'm obviously using the Lakers as an example because you have like 7 players missing, including their head coach, right? And as soon as the Lakers have something going, right, they're starting to win more games, they're starting to figure things out. COVID just screws everything over for us. And I think it's just unfair to the Lakers. Now, that's just from a Lakers point of view. Now I could talk about, other teams like the Bulls, right? They lost a couple prior to beating us, obviously, today with COVID protocols, right? I mean, the Cavs are going to be affected. The Nets are going to be affected. The Warriors are going to be affected. I mean, those are just a couple teams just off the top of my head. I'm like, okay, you know what? This ain't it. The NBA has to get this under control. Either they got to suspend the season or they got to make a bubble again because it's not getting any better. Okay, this variant, this virus, right? This is all happening. Especially, it gets enhanced more in the playoffs. Or sorry, in the winter. But you know, that's nothing else to say. I'm just gonna wait for a couple people to join in, and we could really just go from there and start talking about the game. But yeah, just give me one sec. get a couple people in here, get this thing going. Um, let's see. But yeah, I mean, if you guys have any questions, feel free. That's great. I mean, that's what these live streams are for, right? I answer questions that you guys may have or whatever the case is, but honestly, guys, if you guys have some questions, feel free to ask. If there's some things that you don't get answered or whatever the case is, right? I do post another video, just kind of giving my, um, just my thoughts, really. But yeah, go ahead. Mhm. But yeah, so my video is gonna go up. It's gonna be basically just talking about what I felt regarding the game. Um, that being said, this live stream, like I mentioned before, this is for me to really kind of just talk to you guys, regarding the game, and really just have more of a legitimate interaction as opposed to me just kind of talking or whatever the case is. But let's go over that. Just give me 1 minute. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I don't know what we can say about this game. You think about this game, it's not our fault. But seriously though, guys, like, we we are in no position to really win many games. It's tough. It's unfair. The NBA is doing us dirty. Um, I don't really know what to make of it. To be honest with you, this is unfair. COVID has been unfair to the Lakers. COVID has been unfair to a lot of other teams, not just the Lakers. So the NBA needs to suspend their season. The NBA, I've said it before, the NBA has failed these players, right? These teams, because ultimately they're about the money. Ultimately, the Lakers, I mean, the NBA is about money, right? It is a business, and I understand that, um, you know, I understand that they want to make their money, and that, they already missed out on a lot of potential revenue from suspending the season the other time around. But the league needs to do what's right. Okay, when you have like at least 40 to 50 players in COVID protocols, probably going to be more by tomorrow. Honestly, I you can't just sit here and just let this keep happening. There has to be some action. There has to be something that changes moving forward. I mean, to me, to a lot of people, I mean, I think it's unfair. I mean, like I mentioned before, I mean, how many times are we going to see this Laker team, right? With 7 players missing, you can't expect them to win games. And when you don't win games, it just messes your chances up at contention later down the line. So it's really a failure in the NBA system. I do believe that They're not doing the most efficient job possible when it comes to countering COVID protocols and all that other stuff. Like, whether you want to suspend the season or make a possible bubble or whatever the case is, up their testing. You know how last year, right? They had a thing where it was like, okay, um, you cannot go see your family, essentially. So I don't know. Yeah, there is nobody here. I mean, but still, I'm still gonna give my thoughts, right, on why, this season is just, it's not it. It's not it. And it's not even just the Lakers, man. It's so many other teams, and that's the frustrating part. That's the frustrating part, that the Lakers were winning games. They were getting their act together, right? They're 16 and 13. Um, and then obviously AD gets injured. That's one thing. And then all these COVID protocols, that's another thing. And then Frank Vogel gets out with COVID protocol as well. How many games are they going to win, honestly? How many games are they going to win that, they're it's just not it. I don't know how many games the Lakers are planning to win with that many. I mean, we literally have G League players out there sometimes. Kent Bazemore, I forgot about Kent Bazemore because I mentioned all the other players, but Kent Bazemore also with COVID protocol. So we might straight up have the whole G League team, for all I know, by Christmas Day. And the NBA is just trying to make money. I mean, the Lakers Nets, right? That's a prime time Christmas game, but they're just trying to make their money. And unfortunately, that's what this has come down to, is that the NBA wanting their money and that they're willing to do whatever it takes for that. Because when they missed out on it, was a huge loss when they went to the bubble. I understand that, but they got to do what's right and suspend the season, because I'm done. Like, this game was just straight up unfair. I understand the Bulls were missing a couple of players or whatever the case was, but this Laker team, dude, they don't deserve this. They don't deserve to go out and keep losing games because half of their team and their coach is out. No team has it worse than the Lakers. But forget about the Lakers. You could look at the Bulls, the Nets, the Warriors are about to be. You know, I just don't like the fact how this season is still going on. Whenever I hear about future games and things of that sort, it just does not sit well with me that this is still going on. Um, it's not good for the players. It's not good for the fans, because ultimately the fans are paying for service, right? And if a lot of players are out with COVID protocols, they're not exactly getting the service that they had paid for, right? So when you go watch the Nets and Lakers, right? For all I know, LeBron might not be playing. Kevin Durant may not be playing. James Harden may not be playing. Westbrook, right? He was in COVID protocol, right? Who knows if he's going to be on COVID protocol again, because of the fact that this virus is so contagious, especially with the variant. Who knows? I mean, every single day, I feel like at least a couple of players slash coaches are getting into COVID protocol, and it's just unfair to the league. It's unfair to the teams. It's really unfair to them because, you know, it's just not it. They're not playing with their full team. I'm just watching, like, what am I watching at this point? I'm watching LeBron trying to carry this team. That's what this is. Um, but regarding the game itself, I think the Lakers were in a position to win the game. And to be honest, I think they should have. I think they should have won the game because of the fact that they missed their free throws. And free throws are probably the easiest thing to make. And it's frustrating because, you know, you think about the Lakers, right? These past few seasons, right? One of the biggest weaknesses have been free throws. So why is it that the Lakers can't make their free throws? Like, I know, like, LeBron's actually shooting pretty well from the free throw line this season compared to other seasons. He's shooting 76% from the free throw line. But players like Russ is having a down year, right? Like, I don't get it. Like, why do we suck from the free throw line every single year? And it's going to cost us games. I mean, it has in the past, right? Like, shooting 60 something percent has always cost us games. And now we see it against the Bulls. And I'm not angry like I was last time when they lost to Minnesota, because literally they didn't show any effort against Minnesota. At least this time around, they showed effort. They just couldn't make their free throws. So in terms of the actual game, I don't believe that there was much to really take away from it, because it's hard to take away, you know, from a game. It's hard to get takeaways from a game when half the team isn't playing. Straight up. All I saw was that they couldn't make their free throws. Russell Westbrook didn't make his free throws. And that's about it. Isaiah Thomas, I think he deserves a permanent spot in the league. That's another takeaway. But other than that, there really isn't much to get from that game. You know, the Bulls, they took care of business and won this game like they should have, because they are the better team right now. And by no means should the Lakers have been in a position to really win this game. But some way, somehow they were, because LeBron just popped off. LeBron decided that he was going to try carrying this team to a win. And it's upsetting because he went off, but we still couldn't win the game. And normally is that like when he does pop off, we win the game automatically, it seems like. But, you know, it's just even harder now for a guy that's turning 36, 37, whatever it is. He's getting older. When AD is out, when half your team's out, when your coach is out, you're really asking LeBron to do more. And that's not the Lakers' fault. That's not LeBron's fault. That's the league's fault for allowing this season to continue. And ultimately, what this comes down to is that the league has not done these teams right. They have not done the fans right. They're desperate. They're desperate for revenue, and it's kind of sad to see. So that's all I really have to make of it. You know, the Bulls did what they had to do, and that was win. But let me be honest here, man. DeMar DeRozan, great player. All-star this year. But every single time he touches the ball, he's always getting a foul. He's always getting free throws. And it's like every single time, man, every single time someone breathes on him, he's getting free throws. Now it's like, I don't get that. Like, there were moments in time where he wasn't even hit and he was getting free throws. So with DeRozan getting almost just as many free throws as the entire Lakers team, I mean, that to me by itself, you know, I don't get it, man. It's just something that you look at the league, right, and you think that they're going to eliminate these soft calls, and DeRozan be getting all these free throws. He got almost just as many free throws as the entire Lakers team. Think about that for a second. Because honestly, it's you'd think that this Laker team could, you know, I don't know. I don't know. It's just it's deflating. It's deflating to lose a game like this. You know, there are a couple things to take away from it. But it just sucks because we know how new this Laker team is, and every game counts. Every game counts, and for them to lose like this, right, where DeRozan was getting a bajillion free throws, where we were missing half our team, we did everything we could, right? It came down to us missing a couple of free throws down in the fourth quarter, but this league has to suspend the season because it's just not fair. I'm not even just being biased as a Laker fan. Like, there are so many players in COVID protocol, it's not even funny. But it's not even just about this year. You got to think about the future years as well. Is this going to become a norm? Like, with COVID here, is this going to become a norm? So, I don't know. They got to do something about it. Like I mentioned before, I don't know if they have any plans regarding it because I haven't heard anything. I have not heard anything of a potential suspension of the season, of a potential bubble. You know, I haven't heard that at all. So I don't know what to expect. I genuinely don't know what to expect. Adam Silver, what are you going to do? Seriously. Are you going to let these teams keep playing with like half their team available? Are you going to let these athletes be in risk of just health and safety protocols in general? And it affects the fans as well because there are fans at the game. Not even just fans, but, you know, social media people, right? Coaches, trainers, water boys, you know, I mean, everyone is in risk and the league just wants their money and they just want to let these games keep going, but they need to suspend the season. You know, especially in the wintertime when this virus gets worse and whatever the case is, more people get sick. They got to suspend the season. There's no other way around it because I genuinely don't know if they have enough time to plan a bubble, to plan what they did a couple of years ago, right? Where they suspended the season in March. They resumed it in late July. They went to Orlando. They had a whole plan, but I'm not hearing anything regarding that. I'm not hearing any bubble. So the only viable option that I can foresee is a suspension of the season. Now, when I talk about suspension of the season, I mean like maybe like a 1 month suspension or maybe a 2 month suspension at most, right? Just to kind of let this, you know, go too hard. GG from Bulls fan. It was a good game. Don't take this L too hard. Respect. You know what, man? GG. I'm not taking this game too hard because ultimately, uh, I thought we were gonna get blown out. We know that the Bulls have a very good team. I just wish that both of our teams are fully healthy. You know what I mean? Um, I think the Bulls are capable of doing great things this year, but the only thing that could potentially stunt their growth or their improvements or taking that next step ultimately is a COVID protocol nonsense thing going on in the league, right? So you have Zach LaVine or whatever the case is, right? I don't want it to affect a team like the Bulls or the Lakers or the Nets, or obviously I don't like it for my team, which are the Lakers, right? It's screwing the Lakers over. But just looking from a basketball point of view, I don't want to watch the Nets without KD and James Harden and a bunch of other players as well. Like literally, they had Patty Mills, Blake Griffin in their starting lineup with a bunch of scrubs. That's what the Nets had. So I don't want it like you mentioned, Albert. I'm not taking this. I'm not taking this out too hard. At least it was a good game. And that's what I can respect. It's always good games between the Lakers and Bulls. I feel like so. It's just great to see that the Bulls are good again, and the Lakers can at least compete, hopefully. So yeah, I mean, it was just I don't know when honestly, I might wake up one of these days and it's gonna be like breaking news: NBA suspended their season. That's what I feel like is gonna happen, but it's just a matter of when, right? It's just a matter of when, and once it does happen, then they have to go from there, right? And I don't know what's gonna happen because it's ultimately you got to figure out what's going to be the norm moving forward because COVID is going nowhere. People are going to get vaccinated. People are going to be fine for the most part. But yeah, I mean, look, I would love to watch this game with the healthy Zach and Pat Williams and Anthony Davis and THT. I mean, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, crucial parts to the Chicago Bulls' success, right? I mean, I love Patrick Williams. Obviously, Zach LaVine, the superstar that he is. Anthony Davis ain't healthy. THT, COVID protocol, right? Then you have Malik Monk, Austin Reeves, Dwight Howard, Avery Bradley, Kent Bazemore, Frank Vogel. I mean, I'm surprised it was just a good game, and that's what I can respect. Like, I have a lot of respect, for the Bulls still overcoming these challenges, right? I mean, it's really, really hard to do that, and they're still second in the East, so that's props to them, man. I mean, I love watching the Bulls. They're a really fun team to watch, and hopefully they could do something this year. I know this is a really weird year already with all this stuff going on, but I really hope the Bulls do something this year because honestly, like, there have been so many years where I feel like that you guys could have legitimately been in the finals. Obviously, Derrick Rose getting injured, that was the biggest part. But I really want the Bulls to be good again because when the Bulls are good, the NBA is better. It's kind of like the Lakers where kind of like a franchise like the Lakers where, yeah. Lonzo Ball and Caruso is the reason that our defense is really good, to be honest. Yeah, they are elite defenders. Caruso is going to be a future defensive player of the year candidate. Obviously when he played for the Lakers, the 4 years he played with the Lakers, we saw what Caruso was about. He's a hustler. He provides energy. He's scrappy. He deflects the ball, right? He gets steals. I think he averages the most steals in the league right now. Caruso's just a high IQ player, and Caruso is going to be a defensive player of the year candidate. If not this year, then someday he will be, because that's the player that Caruso is. And I've always loved Caruso. Obviously, I wish the Lakers could have kept him, but we just didn't have the money for it. And as for Lonzo, I've always loved Lonzo's game. I think defensively is that he's one of the better defensive guards in the league, right? I think he's a great defensive player. 6'6", can really guard multiple positions. So the Bulls really have a really, really good defensive backcourt. I mean, it is just really good. So honestly, the Bulls are going to be just fine with those two moving forward, right? And then you combine the rest of the pieces you got. Maybe you can add a future piece moving forward, right? Because in free agency, the Bulls are going to be attractive right now, right? They're a better team, right? They're an exciting young team with a couple of veteran pieces that have really fit with this team. And the Bulls are great. When the NBA is great when the Bulls are great, so people are going to be more incentivized, and they're going to be more looking forward to joining the Bulls. I'm surprised that the Bulls are doing this well. If I'm being honest with you, but they proved me wrong, and I'll admit to it. I was one who said I need to see it before the Bull. I need to see it before I admit to it. But the Bulls are, man, they're doing really well this season. So honestly, if I had a team I wanted in the finals, I want the Bulls in there. Just want you guys to know, with you Laker fans, where are you guys at with Russell Westbrook? No, I think the real Laker fans want to keep him, right? I think if you hear like bandwagon Laker fans or LeBron bandwagons, you're gonna hear trade Russ maybe, because they are very toxic. Let's get that clear. I think Laker fans get a very bad rep because of these loud and obnoxious bandwagoners who say trade this guy, trade that guy. But from my perspective, and at least from other people I know of who are legitimately long-term Laker fans, right? They want to keep Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook's not the problem with our team, right? I think given how Russell Westbrook has played this year, especially these past like 10 games or so, you've really started to see, at least we've started to see, really, he's been meshing with our team so much better. He has not been the issue for our team. We just need to get healthy. Lakers need to get healthy, and they just need to start getting some wins, because ultimately winning is only going to improve the chemistry. And you shouldn't get rid of Russ. No, the Laker fans genuinely want to keep Russ. So to answer your question, real Laker fans want to keep Russ. Bandwagon Laker fans want to probably get rid of him because they're toxic like that. That's just how LeBron fans are, right? If LeBron's team is not winning the way they want to be winning, right? Then they're going to say something about it. They're going to say trade this player, fire Frank Vogel, right? Bulls fan here respected the real Laker fans, not the ones that jumped in. Yeah, something like when LeBron joined, right? Like, first of all, as a longtime fan of the Lakers, right? I loved it when LeBron came to the Lakers. So I'm like, great, the Lakers are going to be in the playoffs again. But it all comes with, that LeBron bandwagon, those Laker bandwagons that come along. And I'm just like, dude, this ain't it, because they are technically representing our team, because the loud, obnoxious bandwagons, right? Their voices are louder than the real loyal Laker fans who actually say knowledgeable things. So, I would get more 3-and-D guys for your team at the trade deadline. Yeah, I mean, if it's anyone, Kendrick Nunn is injured, right? So maybe he could be one of those guys who can come off the bench, right? I feel like when we're all healthy, our team isn't, our team's actually pretty solid, right? But it's just so hard to like really evaluate this team based off what this season has been like so far. Because obviously some players get injured, right? LeBron, he's only played in like half the games this year. AD, now he's injured, right? I don't know what to evaluate this team based off of. And now COVID has been taking over. So, yeah, maybe they could go for more 3-and-D guys for your team, for my team. Are there any guys that you have in mind possibly? I mean, I've been hearing talks about Jeremy Grant. I don't think we're going to get him. I wouldn't give up too much for him in general, because I'm a guy that believes in sticking with the team that you got and moving forward with that. Just trust the players that you got. Maybe make a minor tweaks here and there, right? But yeah, Melo looked good tonight. Dude, he looked great tonight. Melo, I mean, that setback he had on Vucevic, I mean, he really started giving me vibes of the New York Melo days. And it's sad to know that Melo was even out of the league for a couple of years. That was disrespectful, because Melo should never have been out of the league. And honestly, when he was a free agent in 2014, right, there was the Lakers, the Knicks, and the Bulls that were his choices, right? Obviously, I wanted him on the Lakers, but if he did not go on the Lakers, my mindset was I wanted him to go on the Bulls, right? With him, D Rose, Joakim Noah, Carlos Boozer, that team, I think they would have won a championship. Albert says your number one problem this season to me is staying healthy. 100% correct. I think, given when this team plays healthy, I think we actually play really well, right? I mean, obviously, it's really tough job for Frank Vogel to just it's hard for Frank Vogel to do his job the way he does it, right? with one player getting injured or one player sitting out or one player getting COVID or whatever the case is. Got to give some Frank Vogel some credit. Melo's a Bulls was on the Bulls for a day. Man, I really wish Melo was a Bull. Like I mentioned before, 2014, I think that was his time to if he wanted to win a championship legitimately, I think going to the Bulls would have made him do that. I'm being completely honest. I wanted him on the Bulls, if not the Lakers. Another thing I love that you guys got IT, so thank you for bringing. Yeah, I mean, IT is one of those guys similar to Carmelo who should never have been kicked out of the league. IT, right? I'll never forget it. The 2017 playoffs, so iconic with the Celtics. His sister passes away when he was an MVP candidate, averaging 29 a game, drops 50, 51, 52 against the Wizards, and then he gets traded. He gets traded. Why? Because the Celtics say that his hip injury was blah, blah, blah. I mean, no loyalty, dude. No loyalty. Melo has always been about the money first, though. Sadly, can't knock him for the. Yeah, I mean, when he was in his prime, he was definitely more about the money. And listen, if some players want that, right, I'm not going to hold that against him because ultimately, right, this is their career, right? So if you want to pursue the money more so than the championship, I'm not going to hold you. I'm not going to hold a grudge against you, right? Because I think when we see players like a Dirk Nowitzki or Tim Duncan or Kobe, right, who wants to win no matter what, um, they'll do whatever it takes for that. But Melo, he wanted to stay with the Knicks, right? Because he was being offered the most money. Let's be honest here. I know he said, I want to win a championship. But the Knicks were in no position to win a championship those years. And obviously it showed. Nowadays you look back and you're like, dude, the Bulls would have been the best choice for him to go to. So I mean, hey, he's on the Lakers now. I think he's learned a lot over the years, right? He's not taking anything for granted. He's been playing fantastic this season. I'm just glad he's playing well. And obviously he's playing for the Lakers, so I love that. I mean, I love that for Carmelo. I mean, his game reminds me a lot like Kobe's, and I just loved Kobe's game. I loved every minute of it. So hopefully Carmelo can keep this up. But really, yeah, another thing I respect the real Laker fans because they're not so toxic. So thanks for being one of the cool ones. You know what, man? Like that's the thing. Like it's kind of like I'm a cool guy, and there's so many other Laker fans I know are chill. That are loyal. That we travel a lot. Laker fans travel a lot, and they support their team, and ultimately we support our players through thick and thin. And when I've been hearing, the Anthony Davis slander, right? He got hurt 2 times. If you guys know this or not, he got hurt 2 times against Minnesota the game before we played y'all, right? And I've been hearing all the LeBron bandwagons and the Laker bandwagons saying, trade AD, he's trash, he's made out of glass, stuff like that. And they've turned their backs against AD, and it's honestly sad. It's sad that this is what it's come down to because AD was a huge reason why we won that championship in 2020. And for me and for all the loyal Laker fans, we're not going to turn our backs on someone like that. He's a Laker. We're going to support him when he's a Laker. I mean, that's just you can't treat someone like that. I mean, I understand if you want to give constructive criticism, like, oh, he needs to do this more, he needs to do this less more, or he needs to be smarter in terms of what he does on the pick and roll. Whatever, that's fine. Constructive criticism is fine. But when these bandwagons start attacking AD on a personal level, that's when I start to have a problem with it. That's when, the Laker fans get a really bad rep. It's because these bandwagons are just so outspoken and all these other fans of the league are like, dude, look at these Laker fans, That's true. It's really interesting. Like, he's from Chicago. It doesn't make sense to me why he's a Packers fan. Chicago has a love-hate with AD. Would love to see him to join the Bulls, but he can't stay healthy and he's a Packers fan. Honestly, I think AD has been utilized incorrectly by the Lakers these past couple seasons. I think that's why he's been getting hurt, right? First, he was told, you need to play more center. You need to put on more weight, right? So he put on 8 to 10 pounds. But the Lakers are top 5 in pace this year. So they run a lot. And AD literally can't keep up. So that's why he's getting worn out. That's why he's getting injured. AD is a top 3 big man when he's healthy. But personally, I think Jokic and Embiid are better. Um, that's fair. I mean, I'm not going to dispute that. Obviously, I think if AD is healthy, he has the capabilities of being the best player in the league. I think the year or two before he was traded to the Lakers, he had games where he put up like 50 points and 20 something rebounds. Like he really looked like a 2K My Career player playing on rookie mode when he was healthy. That's why we want to see more from AD. And it just saddens me that so many people have turned their backs against AD. It's just sad. It's just sad because I know what he's capable of, and we all do. But when these bandwagons and toxic folks come through and bash on AD personally or whatever the case is, it's just unfortunate. Not even just like as a Laker fan, but just as a basketball fan, it's just embarrassing that this is even happening. Uh, no one should get this kind of slander, and that's why honestly, as great as LeBron is and all that stuff, he doesn't get majority of the hate because of his play. He gets majority of his hate because of his fans. I mean, his fans are very, very toxic. I mean, that's why a lot of people, for example, the Dallas Cowboys, right? People don't hate too many players from the Dallas Cowboy players themselves. They hate their fans. Ever since he started cleaning up his eyebrow, he hasn't been the same. Oh man. But in reality though, man, I think what AD's got to do is just be AD. And as general advice as that may sound, then AD's just got to lose 8 to 10 pounds, right? He just got to get back to being that AD that he was in New Orleans, be more mobile because we are a top 5 fastest paced team in the league. And if AD's putting on 10 pounds more, then he's not going to be able to keep up. What is one player you want at the deadline? I mean, I don't know. Honestly, like it's an interesting question you ask, Albert, because I feel like this roster, like if we're just all healthy, we can win the championship. I do believe that. I don't. If it's a player I want to add at the deadline, maybe another big man. I know what Dwight is about. I'm not sure if I love DeAndre Jordan 100% in terms of the fit with our team, but I'm not really sure. I am not 100% sure because you think about the depth chart that we have, and honestly, we have a deep team. But it's all about being healthy, and I think that's the one thing that if Kendrick Nunn's not going to come back this year, then maybe we can look for a shooting guard, right? But even then, we have Avery Bradley and Malik Monk. Point guard, we have Westbrook, Rondo, Austin Reeves as our third string, perhaps in the playoffs. Small forward, we got LeBron, Carmelo. I mean, I don't know. Like honestly, I feel like this team's good enough to win a chip, but it's just all about being healthy, like you mentioned earlier. Um, there's not much to ask for. Honestly, I believe in my team. So if they believe that they need to go after like a role player or a 3-and-D guy, like you mentioned earlier, then so be it. I'll support that. But just my personal opinion, um, I don't know. For us, we need a defensive big man because we all know Vucevic isn't that much. Yeah, Vucevic is definitely not a defensive anchor by any means. Um, but yeah, I agree. You guys, if it's someone that you guys are, would you guys be interested in someone like Miles Turner? Because I've heard talks about the Bulls being interested in Miles Turner. So hypothetically speaking, Albert, because I know you're asking about defensive big, is Miles Turner someone that you guys would want? Because I'm not a Bulls fan. I don't watch every game of theirs. But we know Miles Turner, right? Do you want him? Okay, so yeah. So realistically, who would you give up for him? Us Bulls fans are the number one haters of LeBron. I love it. We had a lot of battles against him, against the Heat, during the Heat and Rose era, and also we don't want him to win any more chips. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I used to hate when LeBron was on the Cavs in his first stint with the Cavs. I used to love LeBron, right? He was my second favorite player to Kobe. And then when he went to the Heat, I absolutely hated LeBron because, he had come out all cocky saying not one, not two, not three. And then he joined the Heat. He's all this villain, right? He's talking to Kobe, like talking trash. And I'm like, who are you, LeBron, for talking trash to Kobe? Kobe's won 5 rings. What have you done? You joined a super team. What have you done? So I hated LeBron during that time. And obviously, when he left the Heat to go back to the Cavs, I'm like, okay, it's fine. But now he's on the Lakers, so I'm like, okay, I love LeBron again. I would love Miles Turner. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I think Miles Turner would be a great fit for the Bulls, right? I mean, we know what he brings defensively. We know what, he's pretty athletic. He can shoot the ball, right? I think he's a fantastic 3-point shooter. Not that, that's what, the Bulls. I'm not saying that the Bulls need him more so offensively. I mean, it's just a plus at that point, right? Let's see. I would love Miles Turner, Kobe Wright, Portland first round pick. Yeah, I mean Indiana's gonna blow that team up, and honestly, I don't know why they're still keeping it together. So it'd be interesting. But my question is, because we see this in other sports as well, including the NBA, right? Teams don't want to trade within the same conference, especially within the same division. So knowing that the Bulls and the Pacers are in the same division, what do you actually see realistically that Miles Turner would be traded to the Bulls? Do you see that the Pacers would actually want to do business with the Chicago Bulls? I don't know. I don't know because, I mean, ultimately, if I was a Pacers GM, I'll do what's best for my team. But some of these owners and GMs and executives, they're like, nah, I don't want to do business with them. No, there's no way I'm doing business with them. If we didn't have Vooch, I would love to have Sabonis, but I wouldn't mind Turner. I mean, the Bulls should go after either or, but I'm not sure if the Bulls are going to get them because the fact that there are some very stingy. I mean, we saw Dell Demps, right? He would not give up AD to the Lakers because of the fact they're in the same conference. They didn't want AD on the Lakers. Dell Demps was almost offered the whole team. You know what I mean? He was offered almost the whole team for AD, and he got fired because of it, because he didn't accept that deal. So I don't know if that's going to happen again with the Pacers. I mean, the Bulls, they have a couple pieces. They have a pick. I mean, the Pacers need to start rebuilding because they're not going anywhere. The East is getting tougher. And honestly, the Pacers don't really have much to build around right now in terms of having the ability to compete, having that ability to make the postseason. They might make the play-in tournament, but that's pretty much all they're going to do. Realistic team for him is the Hornets. Yep, I could see that because the Hornets could really use a big man like a Sabonis or a Miles Turner because I think at best they have Cody Zeller. And, the Hornets have a solid team, but they need to get a couple more pieces for me to really say, okay, they're going to win a playoff series. Because as good as LaMelo is, as good as the rest of the players and the young core are, I don't see them winning a series in the playoffs. I don't think the roster is good enough yet. Most Bulls fans want Thaddeus Young back. He looks miserable in San Antonio. But, yeah, I mean, Thaddeus Young is solid. I think he'd be a good fit with the Bulls again. I mean, did you guys trade him to San Antonio, or how did that work? Because I think if you guys did trade him to San Antonio, right, then he has to go to another team first before you guys can trade for him back. That's what the rules are, because I think that's what happened with JaVale McGee. That's what happened for JaVale McGee and the Lakers, is because we traded him to Denver. Something happened. I know there's like a rule in the rule book where it's like, so team one, if they trade it to team two, right? Team one can't get that player back unless team two trades him to team three. Then team 1 and 3 can make that trade. But as far as I'm concerned, Thaddeus Young is, I don't think you guys. Oh, if he's bought out, then yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys can go after him. But I'm just talking about in terms of trading for him back. Then you guys can't get him that way. But if he's bought out, then sure, you guys can get him, and I think it'd be a good fit. Pick and pop with LaMelo. Yeah, I mean him and Miles Turner, even Sabonis, someone who's really good in the post. You know what I mean? And I genuinely believe that just the post game is very underrated nowadays. We see players like Joel Embiid who utilize it a lot. And honestly, I would love to see more players do it, because even though that this is more of a perimeter shooting league as opposed to 10 years ago, I think the mid-range, I think the post-up game is still extremely valuable. It's so underrated. That's why I love a player like DeRozan, right? He just utilizes that mid-range to death. And it's so good. He's so efficient. And honestly, if he continues the way he's playing, he could be an MVP candidate. But I'm tired. Listen, I love what Steph Curry, is. Like, when Steph Curry was, 2011, I'm like, this guy's going to be something special. And I love the way that he reminds me a lot like Kobe in the sense that he just makes a bunch of shots, get the crowd all hyped, whatever the case is. But now everyone else is trying to replicate what Steph Curry's doing, and that's just not it. So yeah, I definitely do believe that Sabonis or Miles Turner would be good on the Bulls or Hornets, whatever the case is. But it'll be interesting if the Bulls can get Miles Turner or Sabonis, then they can definitely make some noise. The Bulls have beaten the Nets before. The Bulls can compete with the Bucks. I know a lot of people want to say the Nets are the overwhelming favorites or whatever the case is, but they got some problems. And this whole Kyrie Irving drama, how is it going to be? We'll see. I mean, the Bulls can definitely do something. We shouldn't have gotten rid of Gafford. Yeah, I mean, Gafford was definitely someone who can just be that paint anchor. Yeah, I mean, I I think this Bulls team is definitely capable of going far, especially if they make a move like getting a Miles Turner or Sabonis, right? Because those two players are, they're not being they're wasting their time there in Indiana. And Indiana knows it. They're not doing anything there. But it's all about finding the best package. So if Chicago can get their hands on them, that's definitely going to be something special. Lakers played hard, turnovers and offensive rebound killed them. Yeah, it did. But that's all I can ask for is that when you have 7 players out and when your coach is out against a playoff team on the road, all you can ask for is at least effort. And they gave us that, which they did not give us against Minnesota. Also, another thing I wanted to add was that they did not make their free throws when it mattered. So, yeah. What I loved about DeMar DeRozan is that you know what he's doing posting up shooting, but here's the thing: you can't you can't stop it. Honestly, he's so skilled. He has the footwork, he has those intangibles like the pump fake, just understanding what to do when seeing specific defensive schemes thrown at him, right? Whether it's slashing, whether it's posting up, whether it's a catch and shoot mid range. He's just so smart when it comes to that kind of stuff. And the reason why I believe that there is less skill in the league now than there was back then, or at least more of an emphasis on that, a lot of defenders nowadays don't know how to stop DeRozan. Does LeBron walk off the court without showing love to the other team after loss often? I would say so. I mean, usually when the Lakers lose, he doesn't stick around, and unless it's someone he personally knows on the other team, right? If it's someone like Udonis Haslem on the Heat, yeah. I mean, because here's the thing, like I started recording the video like when Lonzo got the ball and he started shooting his free throws and stuff. I was surprised. Did he not have an exchange with Alex Caruso or Lonzo? Because obviously they did play together. He and Caruso won a championship together. I don't think LeBron played against Chicago last time. Maybe. I don't think so. It's been a while. He walks off early, but everyone makes a big deal out of it. I think people make a big deal out of LeBron leaving early when there's legitimately time on the clock still. So we've seen that there's still 3 minutes in a game, right? So when he leaves, when there's 3 minutes in the fourth quarter still and they're getting blown out, that's what people make a big deal out of, right? But I don't have a problem with him as much when there's literally 0 seconds on the clock. GG, I'm out of here. That's not the problem. But when there's 3 minutes on the clock, okay, that's a little much. But I don't know. I mean, I don't really care. I mean, it's just whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he did have a championship, with Caruso, and he did, I mean, he's a huge fan of Lonzo's, so, I don't know. Another thing, DeMar and LeBron need to stop crying about getting the fouls. Yeah, I mean, like, that's what I noticed. Like, obviously DeMar does it, LeBron does it, right? Like, there was a possession in the second half, right, where LeBron believed he was fouled. And whether he believed that he was fouled or not, like, legitimately, he was, like, talking, crying to the ref. Whatever the case was, like, dude, that's a foul, right? And Vucevic made a 3 on the other end because it was a 4-on-5 in favor of the Bulls. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about is when they start complaining, right? They're not going back on defense, and ultimately that their team is put in a worse possession defensively. a position defensively because of the fact that they're complaining to the refs. I've said this so many times. What is complaining going to do? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's not going to change their decision, is it? Now, I get it. Like, it's easier said than done to stop doing it because, when you feel like you're not getting the calls and all that other stuff, it's frustrating. You're getting hit and all this other stuff, and you're just like, you want to vent your frustration, but ultimately you got to just maintain the mindset that you got to get back on defense or it's going to screw your team over for that next possession. Seriously. What people don't understand about LeBron, though, is if he doesn't complain or occasionally flop, he isn't getting the call because refs assume he's strong, he doesn't get fouled. You know what? That's a good point because I remember I saw this thing where Shaq was talking about how David Stern, right, that the refs would not call fouls for Shaquille O'Neal because of the fact that he was so big, so dominant. And he said, Shaq, if we're going to call fouls, then the game's going to be like 4 hours long. There's just no point. So that's a pretty interesting point that you make because LeBron's sort of that similar player, right? I mean, 6'9", whatever the case is, 6'8", 6'9", 270. I mean, he was just big, strong, whatever the case is. The refs in general were terrible tonight on both sides. I forgot what quarter it was, but that kickball was definitely off of a Laker foot. Wouldn't it still be Laker ball though? Because I know like if it's off, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought if it's just kicked in general, right? If it's Chicago ball and it's kicked off, Zach LaVine's shoe, Chicago gets to retain the possession. So I think the play just resets. That's at least what I'm aware of. I don't know if they changed it or not in the past season, but that's what I thought the case was. Because I've seen so many times where, defensive team, does their job shutting down the opposition, but then, some player kicks it on the opposition and boom, they get the ball back with like 14 seconds. I don't know. That's what I thought. But yeah, the refs were definitely terrible. Listen, I think DeRozan's mid-range game is elite. I think he's the best at it right now. But he had almost as many free throws as an entire Laker team. And that to me, it's like, okay, you start to look at it and it's like, I get that. And then LeBron with him complaining, it was just all around. I'm just like, dude, this is very back and forth, like you mentioned. They needed to, just in general though, they need to stop complaining, just get back on defense. But yeah. So I think the Lakers' next game is against Phoenix. Honestly, I don't know how much further this season will go on for, like I mentioned before. I bet I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and it's gonna be like, LeBron's in protocol. Oh, Vucevic is in protocol. Like something's gonna happen, because given how contagious this variant is, right? I don't see how they're not gonna how they're gonna prevent any case from happening in the NBA. So DeMar's the new James Harden low free. Yeah, honestly, I thought about it. I'm like, dude, DeMar DeRozan's getting a lot of free throws. I mean, honestly, whenever he touches the ball, I think the whistle's gonna get blown. Yeah, Adam Silver doesn't have the guts to do that, man. He doesn't have the guts to suspend the season. You know why? It's because it's a business. The NBA is trying to make money, okay? And listen, I think Adam Silver has been doing a pretty solid job as commissioner, but this is the one thing I don't like what he's doing. He's literally putting the players' health at risk, the fans' health at risk, the trainers, the media, all those other people involved within an organization. I mean, people flying a plane, taking a team from one city to another. They're putting them at risk. So many people are being put at risk just so Adam Silver can have this league make money. And ultimately, it's going to backfire on him because there are going to be so many players who are out because of COVID protocol, and the ratings are going to drop because nobody wants to see the Nets without Kyrie, Harden, and Durant. Nobody wants to see the Lakers without LeBron, AD, and Russ. Nobody wants to see this, with the Warriors, they just lost Wiggins today with COVID protocol. Who's to say Steph won't have that in a couple days? Trust me, as a Bulls fan, we know we had. Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. 10 players out on health and safety protocol. See, but they postponed 2 games, which it's already bad enough. But what the Lakers had was they had half their team out, but they didn't meet the requirement to postpone the game because I think the requirements that they had to have 8 players missing, but they had 7 players missing. So, yeah, I mean, as soon as they saw players like Zach LaVine and all those other players missing COVID protocols, Sonny, like you said, I don't know how this season wasn't paused. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I'm not talking from a biased perspective, like, oh, I want my team to not lose game. This is just unfair. It's just unfair. It's unfair for the Lakers, unfair for the Bulls, unfair for these teams that are going through it. So I don't know. You guys can be so much better if Westbrook can be somewhat of a threat shooting the ball. You know what? Like, that's true, but the Lakers don't need him to shoot the ball at an elite level in order for the Lakers to succeed. You know, you think about our championship season and the point guards that we had, right? I mean, we had Rondo, right? And Rondo made a lot of threes in the bubble. But the defenders didn't see him as a threat of shooting the ball, so they left him wide open. I think Westbrook has been playing really well this past few weeks. I don't think the Lakers' struggles have anything to do with Westbrook. I think it more so has to do with the health of the team. It's just health. That's what I ultimately believe is the key for this. Because, I mean, if you're not healthy, you're not gaining that consistency. You're not gaining that momentum. So, I mean, the rotations are just a whack sometimes because sometimes you got to change things up because of the fact that, you know, players are missing games, players are getting COVID, players are, you know, whatever the case is. But I'm not going to blame Westbrook. I think he's like one of the last players. If I'm going to blame anyone, you know, like he's one of the last players I'm going to blame. He's played a little recklessly for us, but I mean, like Westbrook, I thought he had a couple turnovers or, you know, I mean, here and there, right? I'm just like, well, but that clutch mid-range he had in the fourth quarter, that was clutch. I think the one fault for Westbrook this game was more so at the free throw line where he missed a couple. I mean, this game was really close, and had you just made your free throws, maybe the Lakers would have won, right? Maybe the Lakers would have won, or maybe, I mean, that could be applied. The Lakers shot like 60-something% from the free throw line, and the Bulls, right, they had a bajillion free throws, courtesy to DeMar DeRozan. So honestly, it was kind of an uphill battle from the start, considering how we're missing our free throws. But I'm surprised we're able to compete the way we did. But that's because, you know, LeBron and Russ, they were doing their things in the first half, right? I mean, LeBron was popping off, and then the third quarter he was doing his thing. So I mean, there was a point where he even had the lead. So honestly, it could have gone either way. I'm not mad at them because they didn't get blown out and that they showed effort, right? I mean, what can you do when you have that many people out? Can't do much. So please suspend the season, Adam Silver. I'm tired of it. Like, Father Time is catching up with LeBron, but no one wants to admit it. It's not his fault. That's just life. You know what? I will agree to that. I think Father Time is catching up to LeBron, but you know what? It's not magnified as much because people have been focusing more so on AD and Russ and other players, right? But you remember that season that LeBron absolutely carried that Cavalier team in 2018 to the finals? If LeBron stayed with that team, I think LeBron would have broken down a couple years ago. I think the Lakers genuinely did a good job of building a championship contending team around him, in which that he's actually able to prolong his career, right? With load managing and even the way he plays nowadays, he shoots more threes, right? So I do agree with you. I do think Father Time's catching up with him because you're starting to see maybe minor injuries here and there, right? But he's still playing at a great level regardless. Even if Father Time's catching up, he's still playing as a superstar. When he's healthy, he's still playing like a superstar. But, I mean, that's just I don't want to see him break down. It will be sad when that happens because ultimately, like, he's probably the most hated athlete I can think of that's out there. You know, but he's going to retire at some point. And I'm just grateful enough that in my lifetime, I was able to watch LeBron in his prime, Kobe, Steph Curry, Durant, you know what I mean? So it's all about appreciating players like that. So I don't know when LeBron's time is going to be when it comes to, retirement, but we'll see. Uh, Record prediction, I have you guys winning 51 to 55 games. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. Listen, we're 16 and 14. That means we could only lose 27 to 31 games, according to your prediction, Albert. So that means we would technically have to go like 40 and 10 or something in the last 50 games. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. Their schedule it's the toughest in the league here on out. I think they said that. Someone said that. The Lakers schedule is the toughest in the league. It's going to be tough. No COVID protocols, AD being injured. It's going to be tough. I mean, that's best case scenario, in my opinion. I think LeBron's stubborn enough to retire around the same time Vince Carter did. 100% agree with you. I think LeBron's not going to retire until he's like 41, 42. I think he will be a much better player than Vince Carter at 41, 42. But I do agree with you that he's going to be stubborn to stay around that long, especially if Bronny comes into the league. You know he's going to want to stick around as much as he could, right? And ultimately, if he does stick around for as long as he could, he's going to be able to break more records, hoping that can help his case as the greatest player of all time. But unfortunately for him, Michael Jordan is still the GOAT. Yeah, he's going to have to win a good amount of more championships in order to actually, in my opinion, surpass him. But it is what it is. But, I mean, I can only hope that the Lakers win this year. And, I mean, I've always been a firm believer that we would win this year. And I still think that. But, man. Yeah, I mean, listen, man. My top 5 is like Jordan, Kareem, Kobe, LeBron, Magic. Probably my top 5. I would have to maybe put some more thought into it, but in terms of Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, that's in order. I have Jordan at 1, Kobe at 2, and LeBron at 3. They're all greats. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to sit here and get pissed off if you guys disagree with that. I'm not going to, have a 500-word essay regarding why I'm right and you guys are wrong. At the end of the day, they're all great players. So I'm not going to dispute that. But LeBron, regarding his career, regarding what he can accomplish, realistically, I think he can only win one more championship, but it's going to take a lot for him to win that 5th. This team needs to, I think this year's the best chance, his last chance to win a championship. I don't know if LeBron's going to be this good next season, turning 38. I don't know. I just don't see. I mean, isn't that the same thing we say about Tom Brady? Like, oh, he has to break down at some point. I guess he only plays one side of the field, but I mean, I don't know. LeBron is, who knows how long he's going to play. But I'll tell you what, though, I'm appreciating every moment of it. Like, regardless, he's still great in what he does, even though he's 37, turning 37, or whatever the case is. But yeah, like I mentioned before, this is just a live stream of me just, interacting with you guys, talking about basketball, talking about the game, whatever the case is, the current state of the NBA. It's always fun to do this. I did post a video on my channel, just a recap video, my thoughts on the Lakers Bulls game, like specifically the game. So yeah. As much as I would want my Bulls to go to far in the playoffs, I think it's going to be the Warriors and the Suns to win it all this season. Honestly, Gigi, I think the team that's going to win it is the team that's most healthy and least affected from COVID. You know what I mean? Like, no disrespect to Phoenix whatsoever. But their trip to the finals, right? You saw the first round they beat a crippled Lakers team. You saw them beat a crippled Denver team and a crippled Clipper team. And they didn't win. So I'm not saying that Phoenix can't win. I still think they're contenders. They have a legitimate shot. But I don't think the Suns are going to win it this year. Albert says, do you think you guys are going to the finals? I thought you guys will figure it out and go to the finals. Honestly, at the pace that we are at, LeBron said a couple days ago after the Minnesota game, honestly, we're right where we want to be. So LeBron's pretty confident that this Laker team is at the place that they need to be at, right? You think about LeBron's Heat team in 2011 when they first came together. They started off 11-10. And then LeBron's Cavs with K-Love, Kyrie, and LeBron, they started off 23-23. So I don't think the record tells the whole story. I think ultimately what this comes down to, Albert, is that they need to stay healthy. They can't get affected by COVID. But that's the thing. The NBA is not doing much about it. So do I think that they can make the finals and that they'll figure it out? They will. I'm telling you now, they will make the finals if they don't get hurt. If they don't get hurt, if they don't get COVID protocols, because last season, right, with Dennis Schroeder, Montrez, KCP, Kuzma, that team started 23-6. And then as soon as AD gets hurt, right, then LeBron breaks down because he has so much to carry, right, all that sort. KCP gets hurt in the playoffs. Wesley Matthews, I mean, it was just so injury riddled that we really didn't have much of a shot against the Suns. But we still took 2 games off of the Suns, right? You had AD with the Achilles strain. You had LeBron with the high ankle sprain. KCP was out. Like, I don't know. I mean, if we're healthy, I think we can make the finals. If LeBron is healthy, I think we can make the finals. Because LeBron in the playoffs, we've seen it before. If LeBron is healthy in the playoffs, he has that capability to carry a team to the finals. And you think about the rest of the team. I mean, it is so talented, so deep, but the only thing that's standing in their way is health, chemistry, and COVID protocol. That's the only 3 things that's standing in their way. So once they get those things going, I'm confident that the Lakers can make the finals. To answer your question, Albert. I think the Bulls go far. They have all the right tools, but they like championship experience minus Caruso. I think they're one piece away from being amazing. As a Laker fan, I really believe that. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it depends. I think the Bulls are going to add someone, but even if they don't, I think they're capable of getting out of the first round at least, right? Realistically looking at it, I think the only teams that can take out the Bulls in the playoffs are the Nets and Bucks. Yeah, those are the only 2 teams I think that can take out the Bulls. But even then, like, we don't know what's going to happen with COVID and all this other stuff. Because what happens with the postseason? What if someone gets COVID in the postseason? What if someone like Durant? You know what I mean? Like, this is just not being dealt with the best way it could be. So, I don't know. We just got to wait and see. And like I mentioned before, I think the only teams that can beat Chicago in the playoffs are, at least in the Eastern Conference, are Milwaukee and Brooklyn. But Milwaukee's low-key been struggling this season, right? The loss of PJ Tucker's bigger than what many people expected. But even then, I still expect Giannis to pop off. But that's why I mentioned, if the Bulls get someone like Miles Turner or Sabonis, right? Just gotta wait and see. I'm happy for Bulls fans. The franchise has been absolutely trashed since D Rose here. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I remember after D Rose, the Bulls, they kind of lingered their way into rebuild. They didn't do it immediately, right? Because they had, they had D Wade, they had Jimmy Butler, right? You still lingered around the 8 seed, the 7 seed, whatever the case was. But honestly, the Bulls, when they're good, the NBA is good. So, I'm happy for them because they have been experiencing a lot of tough times. And trust me, like, as a Laker fan, we are spoiled. You know what I mean? And when the Lakers go through struggles, like whether it's a 5-year struggle, it feels like an eternity. But then I just take a step back and realize that, the Lakers, they might struggle for 5 years while another team might struggle for like 30. You know what I mean? So I'm happy for Bulls fans. You guys deserve this. And hopefully you guys can get back to where you guys belong because, the NBA is a better league when you guys are good. I think Bulls and Nets match up evenly unless they get Kyrie back. I mean, it matters because Zach LaVine, I don't think he's been in the postseason yet. I don't think he's been in the postseason yet. So it matters if Zach LaVine and DeRozan can continue doing what they're doing and translate that into the postseason, then you guys can definitely take out the Nets in the postseason. I don't care if we get bounced out first round. I just want to go to the play. Yeah, I mean, listen, Albert, you guys are going to the playoffs. Honestly, like when I still remember this 2020, right before the season was suspended. We beat the Bucks, and the Lakers clinched a playoff spot since 2013. It's been 7, 8 years, and honestly, I'm just like, dang, like to see your team back in the postseason, like you would think that it's impossible. It's so hard to do. You just gotta appreciate that. Yeah, Boylan was trash, dude. He is a trash. Oh God. Yeah, but the Bulls have definitely got their act together, and it's kind of similar to what the Lakers did with their rebuild, right? They got rid of Jim Buss. Jim Buss was the problem. Jim Buss was a huge reason why none of the free agents wanted to come to LA. As soon as Jim Buss left, you saw the Lakers really start taking big steps to contention again. It took them like 3-4 years after, but they got the job done. With Jim Buss, they didn't do anything. So there are a lot of similarities between the Lakers rebuild and the Bulls rebuild. I do believe that you guys have the potential to do something good this year. Yeah, the Bulls just did not have the right personnel. They didn't have the right front office. I mean, there was just a lot of stuff going on with the Bulls internally. Sometimes it wasn't even about the players, because sometimes I believe that, you guys had some decent players from time to time. But more so, I thought it was about the coaching staff, the front office. But, look at it now. Like, it's just better now. Yeah. Realistically, I think the Bulls are around Miami tier right now, but they need a superstar to be. I agree. Miami's a weird team, because if they're healthy, no COVID, no nothing, I would say so. I think the Bulls are on Miami's tier right now. Realistically, I think it's the Bucks and Nets, the Bulls and Heat, and whoever else you want to put below that. That's why I said I think the Nets and Bucks are legitimately in a 7-game series. Understand how hard it is to beat a good team in 7 games. I don't think the Heat can. I don't think they will, but the Nets and Bucks have a legitimately better chance to do it than the Heat for sure. But the Heat are a very weird team. I wouldn't count them out. They did make the finals a couple of years ago, but we'll see. It's gonna be a fun playoffs, man, because all I know is, when the Warriors were around, right, they just dominated. Let's see. I just love that the Knicks got a taste of reality. 100%, dude. When the Knicks made the playoffs, right, I'm like, okay, good for them, right? Good for their fans. But something was telling me that was a fluke. And people didn't want to hear it, because obviously you don't want to rain on someone's parade, right? You don't want to rain on someone's parade. But the Knicks, they're not really doing too hot now. I think we can go for the problems, playoff experience. When I look at the Bulls and their playoff experience, right, they do have Alex Caruso, and they do have DeMar DeRozan, who has plenty of playoff experience. Maybe not NBA Finals experience, but playoff experience. So, I wonder if he's learned and gotten better ever since those Toronto collapses. But it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see how he'll do with the Bulls in the playoffs. I think he'll do just fine. I think DeRozan's actually going to change the narrative that, listen, I was DeMar DeRozan in Toronto in the playoffs. But with the Bulls, I think he's actually going to do something. The offseason, the Knicks tried to, so I'm the Bulls fan, we tried to tell them, yeah, they definitely overachieved. Looking at that team, right, you have D-Rose, you have Randall, RJ Barrett. Don't get me wrong, it's a solid team, but, the fact that they made the playoffs, no, the Knicks definitely overachieved. When I was hearing talks about a possible Knicks-Nets series and the Knicks would win, they definitely overachieved. And I don't see them doing more than what they did last year. Honestly, if they can do what they did last year, which is go to the playoffs and lose in the first round again, that would be a success based on how their season has been going so far. Yeah. DeMar didn't have a Levine-type player in the playoffs. Hopefully Levine doesn't cool off in the playoffs. Yeah, see, that's the thing. That's what I'm like, the question mark is, how is Zach LaVine going to be in the playoffs? Is he going to be a dominant player like how he has been in a regular season? Because if that's the case, that's going to help out DeMar tremendously, right? Kyle Lowry, don't get me wrong, with DeMar DeRozan, choked. Okay, if Zach LaVine plays really well, right, that's going to help DeMar out tremendously with spacing out the floor, with getting good quality looks. I think DeMar DeRozan That's what I'm saying. It all depends on Zach LaVine. But I think DeMar's experience will kind of guide him to that. And that's why I do believe that you guys can go further than the first round. But that's yet to be seen. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, it's just yet to be seen. That's the thing with the Bulls. They have a lot of talent. Talent is one thing, bringing it onto the court in the playoffs is another. But I'm confident in them. I really am. I mean, I've mentioned this before. I was a guy that was like, I need to see it before I believe it. But they telling you what, man, they have looked good. And they have proven me wrong. They have proven me wrong. Let's see what else. That's why we need Turner. Agreed. I mean, if it's not Turner, just someone else. You know what I mean? Like the Bulls need another piece in order to really like take that next step. Like they're definitely heading in the right direction. Yeah, Miles Turner would be good. Sabonis would be good, right? Because especially if you're thinking about the Eastern Conference, right? You think about these top tier teams. You think about the Bucks, right? You got Giannis, right? You think about the Heat, Bam Adebayo. You think about the Sixers, you've got Joel Embiid, right? Yeah, it'd be good for Turner to go to the Bulls. You know what, DeAndre? Oh, dude. Yeah, if you guys want to, hey, I'm proposing a trade right now. No, not DeAndre Jordan. I'll trade you guys Kent Bazemore and DeAndre Jordan. You know what? We'll toss a second round pick in there for Alex Caruso. How do you guys like IT in these last two? I love IT. I think IT is great for our team. Offensively, I've seen it so many times this year where we've gone on droughts, scoring droughts, and IT is a guy that prevents that from happening. So he's just a guy that can come off the bench or even be a starter like he was this game, get us 10 points at least. You know what I mean? Like whether it's the floater, the mid-range, the three-point shot, there's a reason why he is just a professional scorer, averaging 29 in his MVP season, MVP candidate season. I love IT. I really do, and I hope he stays with us. But if he doesn't, then so be it, right? I mean, he'll be on another team succeeding. So I'm happy for him. And but personally for the Lakers, I think it's a great fit. Because you think about the point guards we have, right? Like Rajon Rondo, like Austin Reeves, like Taylor Horn Tucker. They can't really create their own shot as well as Isaiah Thomas. They're not professional scorers like Isaiah Thomas. And considering what this league is nowadays, I think Isaiah Thomas is a perfect fit, right? In terms of the defense, I think Frank Vogel can do a really good job hiding him on defense like Brad Stevens did for the Celtics. So I think it's just a matter of time, but I do think IT is capable of that. And if there's a comeback player of the year award in the NBA, then yeah. Why are the Knicks struggling in your opinion? Honestly, I don't watch the Knicks that much, but I always thought they overachieved last year. We saw an MVP caliber season from Julius Randle. I don't think he's going to keep doing that. I mean, I don't know. Has Julius Randle been playing well? I don't know. It's crazy that y'all didn't we did try to keep Caruso, right? But we're not in a position financially to match that offer that Chicago gave him, right? In order to match that, we would have to go like $50 million into luxury tax. And that's just way too much. It just can't be done. So, THT, given his age, given his value, right, we were able to give him an extremely good value contract that's beneficial for us. So really, I mean, we tried, we did, and Caruso knows, but I'm just glad that Alex Caruso got his bag somewhere because everyone kind of memed up at first because he's some bald white guy just making some plays here and there, but he really turned into, a great two-way player, one of the best defensive players in the league. He's getting the credit he deserves. It's because they think Julius Randle's LeBron and he tries to play point forward. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like Julius Randle's good, but he's not LeBron. I don't know what the Knicks are expecting. And in all honesty, they didn't really do much over the free agency period that told me they were going to get any better. I don't know. I don't watch the Knicks enough to know why they're not doing as well this year. All I'm saying is that I always assumed that they overachieved and that they landed back on earth. That's what I believed. So, Yeah, I mean, just gotta wait and see how the Knicks go about, but maybe they can make the play-in tournament. I don't know, but by no means are they gonna do anything. They need a secondary star. See, the Knicks and Bulls are in completely different situations. The Bulls, they just need a complementary piece, right? So for you guys, you need, a defensive big man, right? And the Knicks, they need a star. They legitimately need a star. So yeah, I know Obi Toppin ain't it. So we'll see. I don't know who the Knicks could even target. I mean, they an attractive place to go to now? Because think about it. They made the postseason last year. They have a young team, I guess. They have some pieces, but if you are a superstar, would you want to go to the Knicks over a team like the Lakers, the Bulls? Yeah, definitely. He's more of a Lamar Odom with handles than the LeBron. Definitely. Um, he's not LeBron. Because first of all, the biggest problem I've always had with Julius Randle is he cannot go to the right. He cannot use the right hand. He is literally, if you just guard him on the left, he's screwed, right? You see LeBron, he uses both hands really, really well. Julius Randle's kind of one-dimensional on the offensive side in terms of the hands that he can use. So, yeah, Tibbs barely played Jimmy in his first 2 years in the league. Yep, and he was coached by Bulls. Yeah, Tibbs has the tendency to utilize veterans and stack the minutes with them more so than the young guys. Um, Giving like 40 minutes to the veterans. You know what I mean? So I don't know how far the Knicks will go. I don't think they're going to do anything this year. The Knicks are not. The Knicks are not going to do anything. Let's be honest here. The Knicks are not going to do anything this year. They just overachieved last year, and that's why you're seeing them come back to earth now. It's because also last season was very weird. There were no fans. You know what I mean? And for a team like the Knicks or whatever the case is, right, with no fans going on the road, it's easier to win road games, and it's just not it. This is more of a realistic NBA season, but even then, it's still so weird because of the COVID protocol. I think benching Kemba's stupid. I mean, honestly, what do the Knicks have forward to look to? Seriously. But honestly, yeah, I when Kemba got benched, it's like that's a new low. This used to be an all-star, and Kemba just got benched, and it's just like, dang. I think I'm gonna probably stop the stream in about a few minutes, right? Um, I'm starting to lose my voice a little. Uh, but if you guys have any other questions, just want to talk about anything else, I'll be here for the next some minutes, and we can talk about that. Let's see here. Knicks need a free Rose. Yeah, agreed. I think he needs to go back to the Bulls. I think it'd be great for him. I think it'd be great for the Bulls. I honestly, I just don't see. I mean, you have Lonzo, you have Caruso. Where does Derrick Rose fit in that equation? I guess that's my only question, right? So, um, I mean, obviously D Rose would be great for the Bulls. Would he be more of a two guard? Even though he is a point guard, would he play more of as a two guard? I don't know. I guess you could probably find a way to fit some minutes in because I know with the Lakers, at least when they played Lonzo and Caruso together, right? You could hypothetically play D Rose off the bench, but I think Rose found a place he enjoys, though. At some point, I think he's with the Bulls. Yeah, I mean, D Rose just wants to play good basketball. I don't think he cares too much about winning a championship right now because obviously he's been a guy who's gotten injured so many times and he just wants to play healthy. He wants to play good quality basketball. But if he wants to win, he needs to leave because the Knicks are not doing a lot of that. So, yeah, I do agree with you that at some point he is going to be back with the Bulls, kind of like how Kevin Garnett came back to the Wolves or something of that sort, where he's going to come back. Okay, so if Donovan likes to play three guards at a time, then I definitely think it's possible that he could come back to the Bulls. Um, But that's the thing, though. Like, D Rose is getting a bunch of minutes, obviously, because of Tom Thibodeau playing the veterans more often, right? So, what is his role going to be like with the Bulls? I think he would love to go back to the Bulls. It's just a matter of, the fit. But honestly, I don't see how that would hurt your team. Um, it's kind of like probably like a 12-point score or something of that sort you could probably bring to your guys' team. But ultimately, what I think the Bulls need is a defensive big man. I look at their backcourt, their elite defensive backcourt. That's just nasty. And then, Vucevic is good. Vucevic is good. He is good. I know what he's capable of, but he's not he doesn't really play much defense. So I don't know. I mean, someone that would be perfect for the Bulls is someone like JaVale McGee. You know what I mean? But Phoenix not gonna get rid of JaVale McGee. Caruso, Levine, DeRozan, and Ball. Kobe White. Yeah, I mean, you guys have a ton of guards. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of guards, but at the same time, those are not bad players. They're all good in their own way. So, you think about a team like the Knicks who have a lot of forwards, right? But not all of those forwards are good. Like Obi Toppin, he hasn't really done much now, has he? But, yep. Let's see. All right. Okay. I want to ask you guys this because I know there are a couple people chatting, right? I want to ask you guys this. Within the next, let's say, how long, if there's going to be a shutdown in the league, first of all, I want to ask you guys this. Do you think the league will be suspended? Yes or no? And if so, for how long? That's my question to you guys because, I know this has been a big topic of discussion. I want to know your guys' thoughts on, how long, or if so, if they would even shut down the season temporarily. But yeah. More turn on Kobe. Yeah. It'll be interesting. Definitely. So you think a couple of months? I do agree with you. I think it will be maybe month and a half, 2.5 months, somewhere around there. Sonny says, I think after the Christmas game, 2 week shutdown. I could also see 2 weeks, but winter season is still going on until March. I think it should be for the rest of December, but they make too much money on Christmas games. GG, I completely agree with you. That was my biggest point as to why they're not shutting down the season so far. It's because they make too much money. But like I mentioned before, they're going to get a bad rep if a player like LeBron or Russ on Christmas Day won't be able to play because of COVID. They're trying so hard to have a Christmas game this year with the Lakers and Nets, 2 super teams. But if they're not able to play, it's not a good look for the people, for the fans who purchased a ticket, so much money to watch who, So it'll be interesting. So I'm assuming the general consensus is that they will. I mean, at least from you guys believe that they will shut down the season at some point for at least a couple weeks to a couple months. I agree with that. I do see that happening. It's just a matter of when. But yeah, we're almost approaching on the 1 hour and 30-minute mark. I am going to end my stream here because, there's only so much I can talk about and use my voice for. That's starting to lose my voice a little bit. But honestly, it was good talking to you guys. That the whole point of a live stream like this thing, when I post recap videos, you guys are listening to what I'm saying, right? And you guys might comment down below in the video, but it's not a live interaction like this where I'm actually able to talk to you guys, talking about the Lakers, talking about the Bulls, the Knicks, COVID, whatever the case is. It's just cool talking like this. Gigi says, I truly don't think Silver will do it. Yep. I don't know. I mean, he's very liberal about his decisions. So, we've got to wait and see what he does and how he does it. But I don't know. I don't feel like they're going to do it. Thank you for your time. You're one of the coolest Laker fans. Appreciate that, man. Definitely. You should hop back on if you can. I know the Bulls aren't playing the Lakers anymore, but I'll be doing live streams after every Laker game. Hopefully, it's my goal. Laker recap videos coming out after every Laker game, and just more content to come in general. Not just recaps, but more content to come out in general. But that's all for this one. You guys drop a like if you guys enjoyed it, and I will make a Discord eventually. I'll put that in the link when I do so. But I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.